Hey everybody, welcome to Kimmel's Irish Pub. Time for another movie review. Tonight's movie, Adrift, right? Starring Shailene Woodley and Sam Claflin, I think you say his name. He is from The Hunger Games, and she is from the Divergent series, among a lot of movies. She's a very up-and-coming actress, but Divergent series is probably where everybody knows her from. What IMDb will tell you about this movie is basically a couple of young kids fall in love in a chance encounter, and then they get caught up in a hurricane somehow, some way. So I assume, based on the title of the movie, they become adrift in some ocean, kind of like open water. I don't know. That's what I'm here for. IMDb gave it a 6.7. I'm here to tell you what the real synopsis is about, so that you get a better idea if this is something you'd like to watch, and then I give you my opinion on what I think about the movie, and if you value that, maybe that'll help you make a decision on whether you want to watch this movie or not. So I'll get into it a little bit. When I get about halfway through or something interesting happens, I'll stop and I'll check in and I'll tell you what I'm watching, tell you what I'm seeing, tell you what I'm hearing. Alright, stick around, I'll be back. Hey everybody, I want to do a quick check-in here. We're watching Adrift. We're only at the 32-minute, 36-second, but a lot has happened that I wanted to catch up on. So the movie starts, first of all, with Woodley, her character, her name in the movie is Tammy, and she's waking up on a sailboat which seems to be damaged and sinking, and she's alone. And so that's kind of like the present. And so she is thinking back, or they're doing flashbacks to when she met Richie, or Richard, and how their relationship grew and stuff like that. So it's kind of like playing in two different time zones, or you know what I mean. So it's her fight for survival, and you know, to see what's happening there, along with the backstory. And the backstory, just to catch you up on it, like Tammy is pretty much a drifter. So she has, since she graduated high school, she drove across the border, and she lived in San Diego, drove across the border into Mexico. Her and her friends started a salsa company, and we're just surfing every day. I mean, like, that is pretty cool. But then they were only supposed to stay for 6 months, and here we are 5 years later. She's still drifting and moving from place to place, looking for odd jobs so that she can continue to live and just you know, eat, and then continue to move wherever she wants to, like total freedom, total drifter type attitude. During one of her stops at you know, one of these you know, ocean places, whatever, she works on the docks, painting stuff, whatever, repairing. Here comes Richie. Richie is a guy who has built his own sailboat and has just been sailing by himself, evidently, you know, for the last like 7 years, and that's what he does. Well, they meet up and they start a relationship, and they start to, you know, go out sailing together and doing different adventures, and that's pretty much, you know, how that's what's going to lead up to, obviously, this boat wreck. So it's showing the love story and the development of that love story backwards to the actual wreck, and then I think it'll probably collide, and we'll determine, or we'll hopefully find out what really happens to them. So here's the big kicker, and anybody who watches my channel knows this: it's based on a true story. I love it. This is fantastic. However, knowing that it's based on a true story, and knowing that they're out in the middle of the ocean with nobody around, kind of gives it away a little bit, doesn't it? I mean, who's there to tell the story? I don't know. You know, how does this story make it to the movies? So somebody makes it, I think. I don't know. Not spoiling it for you. I won't tell you what happens. Who knows what could happen? She could create a journal, and that journal could be found, and they make the movie after the journal. They could make it, I don't know. They could just be making stuff up, and the love story's true. We don't know what happened after they wrecked the boat. I don't know. That's the only thing that I was thinking of when I saw this, and hopefully I didn't spoil it for anybody, because I really don't know what happened. I'm just giving you some thoughts on the fact that this is a true story, and now it's in front of us. So I'm enjoying it so far. I love movies based on true stories. It's kind of a cool concept. I like the backwards flow of it. Here's what's happening. Here's what we're going to catch you up to. And a love story's okay, whatever. But I'll get back to it a little bit more but now you have a better idea, and up until this point, again, we're only 32 minutes into it, I think it's worth watching. We'll see what the rest has in store for us. So we have about an hour left, so stick around. I'll be back and give you more information. Hey everybody, we're at the credits here of Adrift, and I have to say I originally had no idea on why IMDb has this all the way down at a 6.7. I mean, I thought it was gripping, suspenseful, and courageous. The way that's the three words that I would use to describe this film. I mean, I think you're on your edge of your seat most of the time. Besides, you know, the romance piece is there. You're not really on the edge of your seat for the romance and for that kind of stuff. But outside of the love story, I mean, the whole boating, I mean, every piece of it is unbelievable. I'm not a fan of really going on boats, and this is partly why, or maybe The Perfect Storm. Mark Wahlberg is another reason, but, you know, anything can happen. So the only thing that I think that you don't really need to know this was, it wasn't Richie's boat. He was asked to, he had his own boat, but he was asked by another couple to sail their boat back to San Diego, and that's what they were doing when they got caught in the storm. You know, whatever, it doesn't really matter. You know, but I thought it was fantastic. I am giving it an 8, and I was stunned sitting here to myself thinking, why would people not like this? So I had to go read some other reviews, and there's 3 things that I found that, you know, were common in other people, and I want to talk about them a little bit with you. The one thing was, as I mentioned, there's a lot of flashbacks. It starts off, you know, after the hurricane has hit the boat and it's potentially sinking and stuff like that, and that's where her courageousness comes in, like what she does in order to try and save the boat, try and find Richie, all the stuff to get the boat moving again, all that. It's amazing to me. You know, they play it off in the film that she's not much of a sailor, so I'm not sure what the true story is, but she did a fantastic job of trying to get that boat back, you know, up and running and that kind of stuff. And that's why it's courageous. And of course, obviously, the gripping and the suspensefulness is everything that goes along with that, with the crash and everything like that. So, but anyway, back to the flashbacks. Some people who were critical about the film said it was too confusing for them. And I admit there are times when I watch movies that the flashbacks I'm like, I'm not sure where I am or what I'm doing. I didn't have a hard time following this. I knew where we were in the storyline every time they did a flashback. You know, and that was just me. Like I said, in a lot of movies I am like, I don't know where we are, what's going on in this timeline. And I've shared that in other reviews. Not in this one. This one was easy for me to follow. But I could understand that. So that's one criticism that I read. Another one is, there is a slight nude scene, which was a surprise to me. Woodley's character is meditating in the nude, and she lays backwards for like 10 seconds, and you can see, you know, a little bit of nudity there. And I believe some people, it's PG-13, so they might have taken their children in with them to watch this movie, and it's kind of misleading. I don't think, I mean, I wouldn't, my kids are a little bit younger, but still, you don't want that kind of surprise. So I could see the criticism there. So if you know that going into that, you know, you won't be alarmed. Don't have your kids if you don't want them to see that or whatever. So that's the other piece. The last thing was that I found was a very common thread in the criticism was that the true life story wasn't as interesting as they play this out to be. I get that. I mean, I'm sure what has happened, it's just based on a true story, and you know, it's never going to be the same for most of these movies. You know, they have to glamorize it a little bit, and I get that. For me, I like to get lost in the film and not think about those kinds of things. Again, no disrespect or criticizing others in the way that their line of thinking. But if you're the type of person who's like, no, it's got to stick directly to every fact that happened in the true life. I didn't know anything about this, so I never even look at it. But for those of you who might have, I believe, at least from what I've read, that other people have said that it's not as interesting as the true life story, or the true life story isn't as interesting as they made this movie. So I'm sure they've added pieces to it to make us more interested. Those are the 3 things that I found. I could have kept reading and trying to find other things, but I just wanted to clarify my thoughts on why people are potentially rating this very low. I liked it a lot. I'm definitely an 8. I was almost at a 9. And you know, I rarely give out a 9 unless like Batman's in it, and he wasn't. But really enjoyed it. I thought the acting was really good. I thought that the two of them worked well together. I didn't. Some people also said there's a lack of chemistry. I didn't notice it. I thought they genuinely fell in love as characters, and you know, so it's really just them throughout the entire thing, and their experiences, and going through a hurricane and stuff like that. Anyway, so I enjoyed it. I liked the characters. I loved the story. I loved the way they told the story, and I think it's definitely worth watching if you're into this type of stuff. Again, it's all, what is your cup of tea? I really thought this, you know, wasn't going to be that great. It kind of reminded me, this is just spitballing here, like The Notebook meets The Perfect Storm. I know I used that reference twice, but you know what I mean? It's a romance wrapped up in, you know, something out at sea, crashing your boat out at sea, you know. And I thought it was going to be very heavy on the romance side. I thought there was a good balance between the romance, which, you know, I think a lot of people will enjoy, and then the adventure or the excitement. I think they're terrible terms to use, but then the, you know, the shipwreck and the fight for survival and everything that goes along with that. So for me, giving it an 8. I don't need to ramble on anymore. I think I've given you enough information. I suggest that you watch it and let me know what you think. Love to hear your comments. If you find those things maybe poorly done about this film, I'd love to hear that too. If you didn't disagree with me, if you agree with me, anything you want to comment, please do. But I think it's worth a watch. So check it out and let me know what you think. And thanks for tuning in. Kimmel's Irish Pub.